Live, local, breaking now. From WSFA 12 News, this is Breaking News.
Good morning, I'm Jasmine Williams.
And I'm Jed Davis. Thanks for joining us for this breaking news update. We're just minutes away from a news conference at Lake Martin Community Hospital. We're waiting on more information after a mass shooting that happened Saturday night in Dadeville.
4 people there were killed and dozens other injured. And now a local organization is asking for your donations to help after that tragedy. It's called the Caring for Dadeville Fund, and it was put together by the Community Foundation of East Alabama. Organizers say they help to alleviate any stress that these families may have.
I hope that this fund not only can do some things for recovery and we can alleviate the financial burden on these families so that they don't have to worry about, in this community, they don't have to worry about the financial burden that comes with this horrific event, but they can focus on loving each other.
To make a donation right now, all you have to do is go to caringfordadeville.org. Donations can also be made by mail using the P.O. box number right there on your screen.
Right now, there's still a lot of questions about what happened that night, who's responsible. All that information right now so far has not been released by law enforcement. Several agencies are working together. ALEA, which is the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, is heading up that investigation. They're helping with the County Sheriff's Office and the Dadeville Police Department as well. If you have any information now, ALEA's crime tip line, it's 1-800-392-8011. You can also email sbi.investigations@alea.gov. You can also call Central Alabama Crime Stoppers. That number is 215-STOP. It is offering a $5,000 reward for any information that leads to the arrest of a suspect or suspects in this case. Alabama State Superintendent of Schools Dr. Eric Mackey says although this did not occur on school premises, the care and concern educators have for their students go beyond the classroom and into communities. He says we grieve alongside the families and friends impacted by this tragic event. Dr. Mackey says his agency is working alongside superintendents to provide any help they might need during the next few weeks.
And several elected officials across Alabama released statements sharing their support for survivors and families. Governor Kay Ivey shared this statement saying, quote, "I grieve with the people of Dadeville and my fellow Alabamians. Violent crime has no place in our state, and we are staying closely updated by law enforcement as details emerge." Attorney General Steve Marshall announced his office is offering assistance to Tallapoosa County officials, and he says, quote, "We will support efforts to bring accountability to those who caused this tragic incident." And Congressman Mike Rogers, Dadeville's representative in Congress, quoting Psalms chapter 34, verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. There are no words for how heartbroken I am for our community. My prayers are with all the families in Dadeville."
You just mentioned Attorney General Steve Marshall. I had a chance to speak with him via Zoom about 10 minutes ago. Asked him about this investigation. We know there are plenty of questions. A lot of people, they want answers. Who did this? What happened that night? How could this happen once again? He says a lot of times in these cases, the main goal is to protect the investigation. That means sometimes some information has to be kept from the public. As long as there's no public danger, he says, this information is kept just between law enforcement officers to help with the investigation and make sure they get the right person behind bars for that crime. So again, we will hear more from Steve Marshall later this morning on Alabama Live. That starts at 11 a.m. This is not just local news. It's not just Alabama news. Sadly, this is national news. President Joe Biden commenting on this. He released a statement about that shooting in Dadeville, plus another mass shooting that happened in Louisville, Kentucky. He says he's praying for the victims and their families and calls on Congress to take action on federal gun control legislation. The president says, quote, "What has our nation come to when children cannot attend a birthday party without fear? When parents have to worry every time their kids walk out the door to go to school or to a movie theater or to the park? I'll stand ready, as I have been, to work across the aisle in good faith on federal legislation that will save lives," end quote. And as we mentioned, Lake Martin Community Hospital is holding a news conference this morning. That was one of the many places victims were taken after that shooting. 15 victims were taken to Lake Martin Community Hospital, which we're told is just about 2 or 3 minutes away from the scene of where the shooting took place. They had originally had 15 patients. 6 of those patients treated and released. The other 9, Jasmine, were sent on to other hospitals. That's a small hospital, the Lake Martin Community Hospital. There are other big hospitals nearby.
And that hospital is in Dadeville, not far from that dance studio where teens were gathered for a Sweet 16 birthday party. 4 people killed, 28 plus people injured there in that shooting, a mass shooting. We've been hearing a lot about mass shootings, but this one is so close to home.
We do want to let our folks know, too, on social media, it can be our friend, but also sometimes our worst enemy in situations like this. There's a lot of information out there. A good chunk of it might be true, but until this information is confirmed by authorities and police, it's not something we can go with here on TV. So if you say, well, why aren't you talking about the victims and their names? We do know there was a football player from Dadeville High School who's been identified. But as far as that goes, that's the only real confirmation we have so far. We know there are a lot of folks out there who have information, which is good information, but until we get confirmation from authorities, that's all we can go with at this point. So we'll continue to update you and let you know as soon as we get any new specific information right now. And we are getting ready to go to that news conference in just a minute. We mentioned that Lake Martin Community Hospital. That's the closest hospital to where that incident happened in downtown Dadeville. I think it's Broadneck Street where that dance studio was located. So that's where the victims were taken. It was about a 3-minute drive to get them there. After that, though, many of them had to be taken to other hospitals.
And we're going to check in now with that news conference starting at Lake Martin Hospital. Let's listen in.
The city had a great tragedy over the weekend. The hospital has been available to help families, friends, as well as many of the shooting victims. Lake Martin did have 15 patients come through here on, let's see, that would have been Sunday morning early and part of Saturday night. We had 15 teenagers that came through our emergency room, all of which had sustained gunshot wounds. Of those 15, we were able to treat 6 patients, successfully treat them here and discharge them. As you know, Mother Nature wasn't on our side over the weekend. We had some rough weather. We had 9 patients that we needed to transfer out. Some of those transfers were a little bit delayed because, as you know, we have a helicopter pad, but we could not fly the helicopter due to inclement weather. So as soon as the weather kind of subsided, we were able to get most of those people transferred on out. Of those 9 that transferred to other places, 5 of those were in critical condition and 4 were stable, and all 9 were placed in other hospitals. They went to sister facilities. And in the healthcare world, hospitals, we're all brothers and sisters. All healthcare workers are brothers and sisters as we help each other. We sent people to Baptist South in Montgomery, to Piedmont, to University of Alabama, as well as Children's Hospital. At this time here at Lake Martin Community Hospital, we don't have any of those patients, no fatalities here at our hospital. The hospital's role right now will be to take care of our staff. Ivy Creek Healthcare that owns Lake Martin Community Hospital is a rural health organization here in the South, and our job is going to be to take care of our staff. It's very traumatic in healthcare setting, in the emergency room setting, when you have 1 gunshot wound come through. But when you have 15, and they're all teenagers, our staff has been through a lot, and they stood up like troopers. They did a fantastic job. They are heroes. The rural hospitals are heroes in this situation and will continue to be. But our job now is going to be to take care of our staff and to take care of our beloved community, the families and the friends. Many of our staff attended the vigil that we had here last night in Dadeville, reached out to lots of family members. Over behind you guys, there's a building. This is where Our Ivy Creek Hospice is located, and we're going to be doing free counseling all day for family members of the victims, for children at the high school, and for our staff members. We're getting ready to go here in about 30 minutes and take a crew that we're so grateful for from East Alabama Medical Center. They volunteered many of their counselors. We have skilled counselors from our detox unit. We have clergy from our hospice, and we are going to take all those people, set up so that people can come by and receive counseling, and also go over to the high school and extend open arms to those children that are going to arrive today to a tragedy. Many of them were present last night, and they're going to have a tough week. It's going to be a tough graduating year. Do you all have any questions?
How many people were here? How many people, doctors and nurses, were working on patients?
That evening, we had a good crew. We have activated our emergency crisis situation that we activated that, and we had 25 people working diligently. Also, we had a lot of people working remotely. The weather was pretty. We had many of our people that had gone to different locations, and they were able to work remotely to guide the staff, to consult. So we had a lot more than just what was physically present here.
I know you mentioned it's traumatic dealing with one gunshot. You have 15 teenagers especially coming here. You know, talk a little bit more about that and what the staff has sort of indicated how difficult that night was.
I'm very sure that it's difficult. I haven't talked to a lot of them because we've all been very, very busy, as you can imagine. I just got a phone call from a staff member, a night shift member, that is staying over this morning. They want to be the first one in for counseling. Just, you know, to see so many of our healthcare providers have their own children. And I think just knowing that that could just have easily been one of your own children or your children's friend, it's so close to home. Lots of parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles here that can really put themselves in those people's shoes. And hey, Dadeville's a very small community. It just was really difficult because everybody knows everybody, and seeing people come through the emergency room that you know, I think it was just very difficult. And like I said, they handled it like troopers. Everything I've heard has been very positive. They've received accolades from all over the country. Outstanding performance from our healthcare providers.
How long will y'all be offering the counseling both here and at other locations like the high school?
As long as they need it and as long as they request it. We want to take care of our community. That's something that Ivy Creek is known for. Lake Martin Hospital has always been a community hugger, as I call it, and we will be here for them as long as they need it. Graduation's coming up next month, and this is confirmed. I talked to one of the teachers last night at the vigil, and of those that passed away, all were seniors. So it's going to be a tough time for graduation for these kids, and we will be here for them and for their families for the duration.
Is this something you guys prepare for, or is this something that you can never prepare for?
You know, it's kind of like any death. You can't really prepare for it, but you do practice for it. Our hospitals do have, you know, mass shooting practices. We have scheduled those, and we have a pretend shooter and those kind of things, and practice emergencies and crisis and what if we had a lot of people come in. But I don't think it's anything that you're ever really prepared for. But we certainly do practice things like this, and I feel like that's probably why it was executed with such expertise and professionalism, because we hope it never happens, but we do practice for these type things. Excellent question.
Regarding the shooter, we haven't been given much information on that. Do you have any word on the shooter?
I do not. I absolutely don't. We're questioning ourselves and watching the news just like everybody else. We do not have any information. If there's no further questions, we're going to get to taking care of our folks, and we appreciate all the professionalism and the patience that you all have shown to us. Thank you.
All right, we are listening in right now to a live news conference Lake Martin Community Hospital spokesperson Heidi Smith giving us an update on the horrific scene they experienced Saturday night, and some are still experiencing the after effects of that as well. Some of the highlights from that, she mentioned again, we told you before, 15 people were taken to that hospital. 6 people luckily were treated and released. All of these were teenagers, all of them gunshot victims. 9 people, though, Jasmine, had to be taken to different hospitals.
I think what was really interesting, what stood out to me, is that she said that of the deceased, they were all seniors. All seniors set to graduate, and that this is going to be just such a difficult graduating year for the entire community, those students at the school, their families. She also talked about that, you know, we hear so much about mass shootings. They had an emergency plan in place. They prepared for this, but this is something you never really can prepare for mentally, physically. She said, you know, they had the protocols in place, they had the staff in place, but it is just so difficult this morning. They're going to have free counseling on hand for anyone who needed it. She said they've already been getting calls from staff members saying they're going to take advantage of those resources.
And that is a small community hospital. She mentioned that they were trying to get these victims who needed more treatment to different facilities as quickly as possible. Another factor making things even worse, during the evening we had some strong storms moving through, so the helicopter was not able to be in use to get some of those victims to other hospitals. Eventually, though, all of those 9 victims who needed more treatment were taken to the Baptist South Hospital in Montgomery, Piedmont Hospital in Columbus, Georgia, and also Children's Hospital in Birmingham as well. But she said the weather did not help things out as they were trying to rush some of those patients who needed more care to facilities with more staff and more equipment. They had a tough time getting them there due to the situation of just the weather made it tough to transport those patients. But again, all of them teenagers that were taken to that community hospital, Lake Martin. 6 were treated and released. There were 5 in critical condition, 4 in stable condition that had to be sent to other facilities. No new updates on their condition this morning, but I know you mentioned this as well, but she did mention that all of those killed, the 4 confirmed fatalities, all seniors at Dadeville High School, and it's going to make for a tough graduation this year.
Yeah, and I know she said there's going to be free counseling on hand. There's a lot of organizations, churches that have had vigils planned. They're taking donations, and they're doing what they can to support that community this morning.
We do want to let you know before we go back to the Today Show this morning that Crime Stoppers has let us know they're looking for anybody who has any kind of video, whether you were inside at the party, whether you were out on the streets in the Dadeville area, any video that could help in this investigation, whether it's you think it's great, helpful video, or maybe probably nothing, it won't help anybody, but if you have anything you can send them to Crime Stoppers, go ahead and send them those videos if you can. Just go ahead and search for Crime Stoppers online there. The number is 215-STOP if you want to call them and get more information, but they're looking for any video, whether that was inside that dance studio in the evening or outside on the streets, anything that can help police with this investigation.
As always, we're going to continue to follow this story. If there are any other news conferences planned, we will break in with more information. For now, we're going to send you back to the Today Show, already in progress.